Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to the Friday edition of Good Morning Gwinnett. I'm your host, Audrey Kearney, along with my co-host for Fridays, Georgia Taylor, and our special guest, Mr. Lawrenceville Councilman and Mayor Pro Tem, Austin Thompson. Welcome, 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 people.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Listen, I apologize. I am 1 minute behind the schedule, but that's because I was in another meeting and then I put some software on my computer to clean it up, and it did a great job, but it blocked me out. So yeah, that's what it did. So it cleaned up everything and then it blocked me out. I'm telling y'all, them robots, y'all better watch out for them robots. They're coming for us, y'all. They're coming for us. Anyway, thank you so much, guys, for being with us. This is the first video for Good Morning Gwinnett for 2023. So that's just tells you we're growing up. We're
nice.
Up. Even though we tried to do video before, I just, I had got used to not doing anything on Fridays. But anyway, we want to welcome. So Georgette, I know you have been on my evening shows. I don't think you've ever been on the morning shows. So before I introduce Austin and let him tell us what's going on in Lawrenceville and all of the great things that's going to be happening for small businesses in our area, I want you to introduce yourself first and let the audience know who you are.
Hi, everybody. Yes, you probably have seen me, like Audrey said, plenty of times. I've done a lot of businesses with Audrey, but my name is Georgette Taylor. I am the host of In the Doll World podcast. We've been running for almost 3 years now, and basically we talk to people who are in the doll community. That has a lot to do with me and Audrey creating a doll over 20 years ago. I also own a company called Dynamic Life Enterprise, and basically it's a life empowerment company. We do products to help people with self-care, self-love, and empower themselves throughout their lives, whether it's through affirmations or EFT tapping. I'm also EFT tapping facilitator as well. So that's a little bit about me.
Well, thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
So yeah, I got it. So Austin, you have seen Austin on one of my other shows. This was before he became the Lawrenceville City Council and Mayor Pro Tem. And what I can tell you is that he is a passionate entrepreneur himself, but he's really passionate about helping entrepreneurs. He does events every year that support us and empower us and help us grow our businesses. And the funny thing is, he and I had a meeting recently, and one of the things I asked him, I don't know if I asked him or was I thinking this or did we mention it, was the business plan, because I know that's one of the things he does the best. And I tend to find, Austin, that a lot of people feel like they don't need a business plan anymore. So before we get into that, I want you to just give an introduction to you, to the audience, about who you are, what you do here in Lawrenceville, what does Mayor Pro Tem mean? Because I learned something new, y'all. I'm like, what does that mean? I learned something new. But then I want you to go into what can small businesses look forward to in 2023, especially micro businesses.
Yes.
Right. Well, good morning, everyone. Good morning to Audrey and Georgette and to the listening audience out there. I want to thank you very much for inviting me, I guess, to kick off the year with you. And I just want to wish you all a very happy new year. Wishing you all an amazing 2023. Whatever did not happen in 2022, we're gonna make it happen in 2023. Right? Because like I tell business owners, man, be in for the long game. Don't be in for just what you can get now, the instant gratification. Be in for the long game, because it's like some football games, it's gonna go down to the final seconds of the fourth quarter, and you might even have to go into overtime.
More than likely you are going to be going into overtime.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's like double overtime. Overtime.
Exactly. It's like this year's World Cup going into the penalty kickout. Just to determine who's going to be the winner. Yep. So, I'm glad, I'm grateful to be here this morning to discuss Lawrenceville and what I do in the city of Lawrenceville. And I serve as one of 4 council members of the Lawrenceville City Council, 4 council members, including, in addition to the mayor, we constitute the legislative body of the city. We pass ordinances and take care of the city's business ordinances. We are lawmakers for the city, right? And just like you have your state lawmakers, you have your federal lawmakers, we are your municipal lawmakers for the city. You have your county lawmakers as well, as in the form of the commission board. And, I was elected in 2021. I keep forgetting that we were in 23 now, right?
Yep.
I was elected on November 2nd, 2021 in the general election. to serve a 4-year term on the Lawrenceville City Council. This year, I'm serving as the Mayor Pro Tem. And I know a lot of folks probably have not heard that term. They're not familiar with that term. But all it means is that I'm the vice mayor, right? Or the deputy mayor for 2023. Why only for 2023? Because what we do in the city of Lawrenceville, we rotate council members to serve as deputy mayors, for 1 year, right? So for 2023, last year we had Councilman Glenn Martin as the Mayor Pro Tem. Preceding Councilman Martin was Councilwoman Victoria Jones. I am serving as the deputy mayor for this year. And what that entails is basically fulfilling the position as mayor in the event that the mayor is incapacitated. There's some sort of issue with the mayor that he cannot attend a certain event, like a schedule conflict. He, of course, can't be in 2 places or 3 places at one time. So I would have to actually fulfill the duties as mayor in one of those initiatives, sort of like maybe like at a ribbon cutting or presentation of a proclamation or so on and so forth. Let's say if the mayor decides to, for whatever reason, resign or the mayor is impeached, I would have to step into the role as mayor until a special election is called to elect the new mayor of the city. So I'm enjoying the beginnings of this. My first duty as mayor is actually, as Mayor Pro Tem, is actually to identify and recruit a minister or pastor for the next city council meeting, and I've already have that secured. So I look forward to serving in this role. It gives me great honor to support the mayor, support the city of Lawrenceville in this capacity, and to make sure that whenever I'm called to act in the place of the mayor, is that I fulfill those duties as best as to my abilities.
All right. So now on the flip side of that, when you're not running to help run the city, I know that you are really passionate about entrepreneurs and all the things that it involves, being an entrepreneur and running a business. I want to talk about the business plan because I think that, we're going to talk about other stuff, guys, but this was something that I wanted to talk about because, when I was coming up in business, everybody was preaching, you need a business plan, you need a business plan. They was like pounding it in your head. I feel like today, because of how things have changed, technology is right at your fingertips. People don't feel like they need a business plan. So the first thing I want to talk about, because it is the new year, and there are people that are watching who may have started a business last year and they're struggling, who may be thinking about starting a business right now. Would you say that a business plan is still a relevant document to have for a startup?
Yes.
And why is that?
And this is something that I emphasize to entrepreneurs all the time. It doesn't matter how much of a full grasp you think you have of your business. It does not matter if you have it all up in here, right? And you can visualize launching your business and operating your business. At some point, you're going to have to understand how you're forecasting, right? Now, the business plan is essential because it serves 2 purposes. One, it can be a document used for funding and financing, securing money for your business, working capital, in order to put you in a liquid position to manage your business, having cash flow running through your business. The other purpose is, hey, you're not seeking funding. You just want a document to guide you, right? To basically outline the processes of moving from one step to the next in your business. Now, there's several critical components to a business plan. One, you have your startup capital, you have your financial, your quantitative section, which includes your profit and loss, your case statement of cash flows, and your balance sheets. Also, you do some liquidity ratios and profitability ratios, your break-even analysis, and this is the quantitative section of the plan. There's no one important section of the plan that's more important than the other, or no one section that's more important. Marketing is important, operations is important, human resources, your strategic direction, all of that is important. Understanding your startup capital, your startup needs is important. But, the backbone of any business, any organization is finances, right? Mm-hmm. And understanding your finances, like with your P&L, understanding how you're moving from one quarter to the next quarter. Are you growing? Understanding your profit margins, understanding what your profits and understand what your revenues and your sales are going to be. You've got to actually do the analysis and do the due diligence of doing a pro forma, which is just basically projections to determine what your sales would look like from month to month, what your sales would look like from quarter to quarter, right? What your revenues would look like, in order to determine what your profit margins will be. If you are a manufacturing company, or if you're in a restaurant, you're looking at, cost of goods sold to determine what materials or what ingredients are you buying in order to produce a product or to produce, a meal. These things are used to determine and to project how you will grow as a business. If you don't understand that, if you don't have a document to reference, it's pretty much like flying a plane without a GPS system, without a navigation system. Right. You're just flying through the air. You're flying through the air hoping you don't hit a mountain or something like that, or you don't crash into the ocean. Right. And I'm being serious. So if you are running a business without having a plan, a document that's well written, that's well structured, that's well organized to help you get from step 1 to step 2 to step 3. If you don't have that, then you're pretty much flying in the clouds without a GPS, without a global positioning system that guides you from your point of origin to your destination. So the business plan is important. It is essential. It still is an essential document. Mm-hmm. I'm working with 2 entrepreneurs right now on their business plans, and having to educate them in the beginning before we started the plan, before we started the project. These are some of the things that are necessary for businesses to understand, business owners to understand that, if you are seeking financing at some point, even if you started your business, right? Like for the past 2 months, I've been working with entrepreneurs on identifying funding sources. If you started a business and your business is running, right, and you somehow miraculously are able to generate revenue, grow it, to whatever level, but at some point you're going to hit a roadblock and say, wow, I need more financing, right? I need more funding. I want to expand. I want to add new product lines. I want to add new service lines, and I need to go after a loan. Well, what do you need in order to get that loan? A business plan, right? Because that lender is going to, whether it's a bank, whether it's an alternative lender, whether it's an angel investor, whether you're going to your rich uncle Mike, who has money to lend you, he's going to say, well, do you have a business plan? I want to see how you plan to grow this business, right? At some point, you're going to need the business plan. So I always encourage entrepreneurs, have the business plan before you launch. Don't be so eager to launch and you don't know how you're going to grow the business. Audrey is a marketer. Marketing and branding, they are important. They're important segments to the business, right? Understanding how you're going to market, to whom you're going to market, what resources are you going to employ to market, right? What is your return on your investment? How are you going to determine, how you're reaching your target markets, right? There's so much to it. So yes, a business plan is essential to determine, your employees, if you're going to have seasonal employees, if you're going to have full-time employees, temporary employees, how you're going to manage those employees, what resources you're going to have in place to manage your staff in operations, what type of technology you're going to use to manage your business, your strategic development, your strategic direction, starting with your vision. Where do you see the business in the long term? Your mission. What is the purpose for you starting that business, right? And measurable goals that you're going to implement for your business to determine now how you're going to stay on track, right? Mm-hmm. Now I say, goals should be smart, right? specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time specific, right? So if you don't have those things in place, if you don't have the foundation in place, on which to build that plan, then again, you're flying in the clouds without any global positioning system. You're just wandering around trying to figure out how I'm getting from one step to the next.
Let me. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me ask you a question. You deal a lot, like you said, with business management and small business owners, right? And you're talking about business plans. What are some of the things, the roadblocks or the reasons that people do not think that a business plan is important, or what stops them from creating one? Because I mean, you're saying we need it for, loans or ideas or creation to take it from one place to another so you can see where you're going. But what's the hesitancy for most business owners, to create a business plan? The reason that they don't do it.
One is ignorance. They don't really, and innocent ignorance, right? Where you just don't know the importance of this document. So you're just going to go ahead and start the business anyway, thinking that, I'm gonna start. I need to open my business, and I'm gonna work on opening my business, and I'll worry about the business plan later, right? The second thing is anxiety, right? You got whatever money from your savings. You may have tapped into your 401k, whatever. You got to do your build out for your salon or your restaurant. You're just excited to just get this business started and start generating revenues. You're just anxious to get revenue going and to get that business started. And granted, it's nice, it's great, that you want to exercise your entrepreneurial ingenuity and get those entrepreneurial juices going. But again, ignorance is not an excuse. Anxiety is not an excuse. Because at some point you're going to get 6 months in and you're like, well, why are we running out of money? How are we going to get more people through the doors? We need to increase the volume through our doors. We're spending too much money on materials. We need to source our materials from a different distributor and figure out if we're going to source our materials from overseas or if we're going to source it locally. From where, the supply chain, moving materials from the point of origin to the store where we have to build out and manufacture and put things together. All of these things you have to determine, in the business plan. So if you don't sit down and run this exercise, either with yourself or with your business consultant or with someone from the SBDC, Small Business Development Center, from SCORE, if you don't sit down with someone and put the plan carefully together, then you're going to run into these roadblocks. You're going to run into these questions you're going to ask yourselves down the road. Oh my God, how are we going to grow? How are we going to grow our business? And you sit around and you're like, well, we should have had a plan in place. Or the document we started should have, expanded.
Evolved, right.
Right? Yeah.
Okay.
I think the other thing too, most businesses start out as side hustles. Like that's a term we've heard over the last 5 years. That's just all over the place. Side hustle. And then some of them are fortunate enough that the business takes off, and now they have to backpedal and like, wait a minute, like I wasn't thinking about that. And so is it too late? Is it, well, I'm sure it's not, but for the person they started this business, it was a side hustle, but now it's really doing real numbers. Do they need a business plan at that point? Because now they are doing real numbers, because that's the other thing. People may think that, well, you
don't need a business plan because you're making more money. Right. Yeah.
I'm good right now. I don't need a business plan. So what do you say to that person? Because I know they're out there because I watch them all the time.
Right. And there are 30 million small businesses in the United States, right? I think somewhere about 20 to 25% of that 30 million are small home-based, operators, right? We're running literally like it's like the record sales guy, selling records or tapes out the trunk of his car, right? But the side hustle, there's no shame to the game of the side hustle, because that's literally how a lot of this started, right? Entrepreneurs or individuals with an entrepreneurial mindset while working a full-time job, or even while going to school full-time, have these ideas, right? And they start them as side hustles. When I was in college, I used to type term papers and term project papers for students, right? That was my side hustle. I had typing skills, and I had the typing skills a lot of students didn't have. So I ended up, typing papers for students, right? That's how I started out, right? So side hustles are great. Eventually, if you have a side hustle, you bake muffins, you bake pies, you bake cookies, you know how to cook, so you probably might cater for a few friends, co-workers. You're trying to get your feet wet, like, can I really do this? And you start hosting parties. You go from your home to maybe the clubhouse in your subdivision to actually renting space, right? I've known restaurateurs who have done that, right? Then they get the food truck, and they move from the food truck to a restaurant, to a physical space. Right. You see the natural progression of this evolution, right? So at some point, you go from the side hustle to launching an actual business based off that side hustle. And if you didn't do any business plan for the side hustle, when you're thinking seriously of transitioning from a side hustle to a legitimate business, renting a space, and all that involves in the overhead and growing that business, you've got to have a business plan in place. You have to. Because you're going to have to capture your expenses, your revenues. You're going to have to understand all your assets and liabilities. You're going to have to understand cash flow, how you're growing cash, investments into the building, determining how liquid you are as a business based on your cash flow statement. So these things will have to be seriously considered, how you're going to market, what type of social media platforms are right for you. Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, TikTok, all these different platforms that are available to help grow your business and market your business. Which ones are, would give me an advantage, would give me a competitive advantage. All these things would have to be considered. Looking at competitors, understanding what makes you stand out, what differentiates you from your competitors. These things now, moving from a side hustle to an actual business, you have to start thinking seriously, about growing the business, and that will be done with a business plan effectively.
I can tell you this. I can tell anybody that's going from a side hustle to a full-time business, just know that everything is going to be different. The concept of the business is the same.
Yeah.
But the way you run the business is going to be totally different. So if you think for a second you're going to go from the food truck to the restaurant, it's going to be the same. You are in a big trouble, my friend. Like big trouble.
Yeah.
So don't do that. And that's really important for people to understand, because that's normally what happens. They want to go from the hot dog cart to the hot dog cafe. From the hot dog cafe
to the stadium.
Right? And that's all different. So you have to, what Austin is saying, you really do need a business plan. Yes, you may start out as a side hustle. And I would say, listen, at least if you're going to start a side hustle, write out your mission and vision. Start with something. Right? Start with, do the 1-page business plan and the 1-page marketing plan. Start with something. So at least you have that. The other thing I want to say, what you said, a point that was very interesting, and you can elaborate on this. You said, you have to decide which social media platforms you want to be on. Because here's the thing, it's so many, but not all of them is going to benefit your business. I don't care what anybody says. Now, let me say this. There are some gurus out there who say be on all the platforms. But if you are a micro entrepreneur, which is what I like to call mom and pop businesses, a micro, not a small, and you don't have the manpower to be on every platform, you need to pick one. So Austin, talk about that a little bit, because I know that people get so overwhelmed because, okay, I need to do TikTok, I need to do Insta Reels, I need to do LinkedIn. It could be totally overwhelming to people, especially people who are not computer savvy.
Right.
So true.
Exactly. And, we have to look at, okay, video is big right now, right? Video, TikTok and YouTube, right? If you're looking at video platforms, right? If you're looking at platforms on which to share images, Instagram is really good, right? Facebook is good. You can get a Facebook business page and grow your online presence. If you can't afford to invest in a website, at least get a Facebook page. And this is what I encourage entrepreneurs. I understand investing in a website early on might be a little bit cost intensive, especially for a good site. At least start a Facebook page. The online presence, the social media presence, we talk about billions of people online every day with smartphones, having access to websites, having access to the online platform is crucial for a small business owner, right? So say, for instance, you're looking to get online, right? You own a restaurant, you're a micro business enterprise. You have about, less than 5 employees or 5 members in your business. You're looking to gain some sort of social media presence, right? You may look at Facebook. Facebook might be the best right now, right? For entrepreneurs to promote their businesses. They're able to load up pictures, load up videos on Facebook. If you're looking to share images, I've seen wonderful images of menu items for restaurants. For those who are into like artistic, styling, like doing photos or painting or just anything like dressmaking and tailoring. They put a lot of those things on Instagram, right? Because it helps to promote their images, right? YouTube and TikTok are great because you can do nice video messages, keeping them at least short and effective so that you can promote, your business. So this way now you can talk about what you do and you can show video images of the things that you're producing as a business owner, right? It helps to create the mind because now you're putting that footprint in the minds of folks, right? With those images that you're creating, helping with your brand, right? So the social media platforms, whether it's video, whether it's Instagram, whether it's Twitter, whether it's Facebook, you have opportunities now to penetrate the market and get exposure, build exposure. Audrey likes to talk about making noise in the marketplace and be able to do those things. So now you're attracting your potential customers, potential loyal and committed customers to you with the penetration of your business and its services on these social media platforms. So yes, that's part of the marketing. You have traditional marketing. So you have to budget. You have to understand like print, newsletters, brochures, and so on and so forth. That's traditional, ways of marketing. But on the social media, information spreads faster and wider on social media, and it's not just restricted to your local area. I mean, social media is global, right? So you can put your products online or put it on your Facebook page here in the state of Georgia. And someone from Tanzania sees it because they're Googling and they're searching and they're seeing, oh, wow, this person does some nice art, and they'll be able to order from you and vice versa, so it's global. So yeah, social media marketing has to be an effective marketing strategy incorporated in your overall marketing plan.
Mm-hmm. But when you were saying
and I
that,
want to just add to that. I just want to add to that because one of the things I realized, as a solopreneur, micropreneur, you are one person trying to do so many things.
Yeah.
Right. Yep. So what I would tell you to do is really look at, first of all, I want to tell you, you need to add a website in your budget. Like that's the first thing. You have to do that. You have to, before you think about, who's going to buy it, you need to have your website. And people will Google you. They're going to Google you, and whatever shows up first is what they're going to see. Right. So put the website in your budget. You can find that. Listen.
Yes, we've done plenty
artificial intelligence is changing the game, right? Yeah. When I tell you changing the game, it's changing the game. But if you're afraid of technology, it's not going to help you. But there are people that can help you. So put a website in the budget. The other thing I want to say is really dig deep into the platforms before you go putting up stuff, because what I've learned, and I learned this the hard way because I'm not on Instagram. And I have 3,000 followers on Instagram that is still followers. They're still, it's like a little bit, I think it's 3,024, right? I spend no time on Instagram. I really don't. I spend no time on Instagram. My biggest following is on LinkedIn, over 13,000 over there, right? My biggest Video platform is on Vimeo. So I was talking to somebody the other day, and I was saying, yeah, Vimeo is a good platform, right? And I happened to go look at my stats for the month of, I think it was October to November.
Right.
446,000 views.
Wow.
And that's what I said. I was like, what? Now I knew I was getting between 150,000 and 200. I did not know I was getting 400,000. So maybe that was just a fluke. Then I looked at December to January, 300 and some thousand. I was like, wait a minute. So you have to know your platforms. I'm on all the platforms because I'm in media. But what I would tell anybody is pick a platform and nurture that platform just like you're nurturing your business. Because at one of the things I know is that you can totally spread yourself too thin, and you're gonna do yourself and your business a disservice. Yeah. And I want to just use a story, Austin, real quick. Pinky Cole. Mm-hmm. Everybody knows Slutty Vegan. Mm-hmm. Everybody knows Slutty Vegan. She had one platform. It was Instagram, and in 9 months she was at $1 million from Instagram.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. If you look at Pinky's story, she'll tell you she had Instagram. She posted only on Instagram. That's all she posted on for like 9 months, and then at that 9-month mark, she was already a millionaire with a food truck.
Yeah.
Yeah, with a food truck. So know those platforms. Dig into them. Pinterest. People sleep on Pinterest. Right? They think Pinterest is just for you to decorate your house and look for the favorite outfit. Pinterest is a search engine. Mm-hmm. It's not a social media platform. It is a search engine. I just got approved to be a live streamer on Pinterest TV. Somebody said Pinterest got TV. I like, they do now, and they asked me to come over and live stream. So I'm going to be able to live stream it. But it's a search engine, and so people sleep on that platform because they feel like, well, it's I'm only going to go in and get good ideas. Mm-hmm. For how to dress up my room. No, people are looking for that. And you have a product or service that can service some of those people. That's a great place for you to go. Right. So you got to know that. Yeah. Now they're up in their game because they're trying to compete with everybody else. Mm-hmm. Everybody's in videos. Pretty soon they have Pinterest TV. I'm almost certain they're gonna go to vertical video because Instagram started out first. Then TikTok came along and killed everybody. Mm-hmm. Now YouTube is all about shorts that are vertical. I'm sure Pinterest is next on the vertical space. So just know your platform if that's something you're going to do. Go ahead, Gene.
I was going to say also, yes, know your platform, but also do exactly what they're sharing. What we're sharing with you is that, you have to niche that down too. Because if you are a small or solo entrepreneur, you cannot have 15, social media sites, and maintain all of that, and also still do your business, to a level that's going to, make it profitable for you. I mean, I started out on Facebook in the Dawn World, and I'm also on Instagram. But Facebook is where I spend most of my time talking to the community. Mm-hmm. So that's the other thing. Like, where do you spend most of your time building your business, and then just grow that, and then add one thing, to it. Later on. But I think, Orgy's right. You need to know which platform is going to suit you best. And also what Austin is saying, in order for you to know what platform is going to suit you best, a business plan is going to show that to you. You know what I mean? And where you're going to spend the bulk of your time at, so because it's a, that's just one hat you have to wear as a business owner. There's so many more other hats, and if you start to fail in that, then you're not going to feel successful. So you need to be able to niche those things down so you can control them to the best of your ability, in running a business.
Right. The business plan is not, wave a magic wand, snap your finger, wiggle your nose, and it appears, blink your eyes. I'm dating myself.
I love both of those shows, by the way. I love both of those shows. I love both of them.
I'm dating myself.
That's funny.
Bewitched.
Genie. And I dream of Genie. You're not going to do those things and then it just magically appears. Right. It's work.
It's time.
It's time. Yep. It's effort.
Cultivating.
Put a business plan together in a week, in a day or a week, in a month, it takes time. It takes effort. You got to talk to a lot of people.
Yeah. And I think that's one of
a lot of people. Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things when I asked you earlier, what did you find most, difficult for people to start? And I think one is that they feel it is daunting. sometimes, they do feel overwhelmed with the things that they have to find, and research because, just like we said, people start the business and they jump in and they may be making a little bit of money and they get excited and they don't want to have to go back and say, oh my gosh, now I have to research all of that. But you have to research your business. You know what I mean? To make it the best business. And that, goes with building a good business plan to help guide you.
Right, exactly. And if I'm just going to say quickly, if you find it daunting, then that's where you visit a small business development center. You visit a SCORE office, and you have independent consultants. You have the chambers that can help you. The Small Business Administration. Don't take on the battle by yourself.
Right, take it piece by piece too. Yeah,
right. Exactly. And if you find it daunting, get help. Don't, and like I said, don't wait until the walls are crumbling down for you to get help. Be proactive and make sure you get that advisement ahead of time.
The other thing too, like if you're thinking about starting a business, I know there are plenty of hacks out there where they say you can start for free, and you can. You really can. There are things that you can sit down today and be in business today. There really are, right?
Yeah.
But you want to do your research on something that you're passionate about. And I know that, we could talk about this all day long. We could talk about being passionate. We could talk about, there's a SCORE mentor in the house. He says, SCORE mentor here. Let's drop in.
Nice.
How you doing? Thanks for being a SCORE mentor and helping people.
Yes.
You have to be passionate about these things too, right? Because Austin, I know you probably see a lot of people. Tell us about some of the stories you've seen with people. Because I know I used to be a small business development consultant. And I remember this woman she came into the center and she had an appointment with me. I was a Rutgers, a small business development consultant for Rutgers University in Jersey. She comes in, she wanted to start a cupcake business. So I said to her, so you bake? She says, no. Right out the gate, I'm like, okay, so how are you going to start a cupcake business? She's like, I just like the way they look, they're pretty, but you don't know how to bake. So who's going to bake the cupcakes? She's like, I didn't think about that. And I'm sitting there, and I thought she was punking me for real. I'm like, is she serious? Like, she got to be. So tell us about some of the things that you see, because I know you work with a lot of businesses, especially startups. And you probably see some stories and can tell some stories about some of the people that have come to you like, Austin, I want to start this business. And they haven't thought it through. This is a big idea. And because, somebody said, girl, you make the best peach cobbler ever. I'm going to start a peach cobbler business. Tell us about some of those stories.
I had a guy that wanted to start a lawn care service, had no lawn care equipment. He had no lawn care equipment. And it's not to say that he couldn't get the financing, but it was like he wanted to get out there and start doing lawn care, but he had no equipment. So it's like, well, do you have a plan for getting equipment? Are you going to lease your equipment from Home Depot, or you have a buddy who has equipment? You're going to lease from that person? How do you expect to get equipment? Well, I need money to get my equipment, but I need to start next week. I need to get this going. And I'm like, okay, so we really need to sit down and put a plan together. So this way you can go after financing. We worked on the plan, but before the plan was completed, he was able to borrow equipment from different friends in order to literally start his lawn care business, But here we go again with that anxiety, where you need to get something started. I need to get something started right away. But then, not understanding, but you got a plan for, great, you got the vision. You got a plan first before you go after the financing and go after those resources, in order to get your business going. I've had other entrepreneurs who really didn't have an idea of the industry in which they're going into, right? All they know, I've like hair care. I had a client a few years ago who was starting a hair care business, and she didn't really understand. She knew she could do hair, right? But she didn't really have a full grasp of, because I was asking her like simple questions, about the hair care industry. And I do an industry analysis which is part of the marketing section of the business plan, because you have to understand your industry. You have to understand who your industry leaders are. And if those industry leaders are struggling, if there's as I say, turbulence in the industry, then chances are you might not do well in that industry because activity in that industry is not as strong, right? And economic analysis is the same thing, understanding the strength of the economy, because there are peaks and troughs in the economy in terms of economic cycles. If you're going through periods of economic strength, you have a lot of businesses that are out there that are doing well. Entrepreneurs are starting businesses are generating revenue. You have low unemployment, increased employment, which means increased disposable income. So there's money now circulating in the economy. That these are things you got to understand. But yeah, I've run into several entrepreneurs who really didn't fully understand the industry they were going into. If me as a consultant, let's say for instance, I was going into the consulting business and I couldn't tell you what a consultant does, that there is like a red flag, So Austin, what do consultants do? I'm not sure, but I just like helping people. I just like telling, giving advice to people. I don't really understand what a consultant does, and I guess that's what a consultant does, right? Gives advice, But if you end up in that type of conversation, chances are you're going to need some coaching, right? And that's what I've encountered.
Yeah.
I got to tell you a quick story. So I love media. I've been in media for 20 years. And I started out being a magazine. I would love magazines. Like I'm a magazine junkie. Like people like chocolate and they like cigarettes. I like magazines. So that was my weakness. And so I wanted to start a magazine. So the first thing I did was find out where the magazine people hang out at. That's what I did. I was like, I'm going to find out where they hung out in New York. And this story is so funny, y'all. They hung out in New York. And they would have this event every month, and I would go to New York and be with all the magazine people and hang out. So one time I went, they had to pass around hors d'oeuvres. The guy was passing, walking around. So you walk and this magazine, it's New York, so it's very food. So they got this hand carry stuff. They're going around, and the guy comes to me. He has this really pretty little cracker with some little orange things on it and some white stuff on top of that. Oh, that looks delicious. So I got me a couple of them and threw them back. And I was like,
I know what they were.
Caviar.
Yeah.
It was disgusting. I was like, oh my God. So I said all that to say, I had to tell that story because it made me think about when I was thinking about what I wanted to do before I actually launched. I just would go to those events. I had an idea for the name of my magazine. It was called Sister Inc. And I would go to those events and I would talk to people about magazine publishing, and they talked about regional magazine publishing, national magazine publishing, all these kind of different ways, different magazine publishing. And so I got to learn about how to do certain things, like get my magazine in Barnes and Noble in my local community. I learned all these things, but that was because I hung out with the magazine publishers. And so if you're thinking about starting something, find the group that focuses on what you're trying to do, and just go there. If you're trying to get in real estate, find a real estate group, because you're going to learn so much from them. And that way you can say, well, do I really want to do this? So I've been doing this for a long time and I love it. But it started out with me going to an industry organization, attending their events on a regular basis before I actually launched. So I knew exactly what to do. So they were telling me, Audrey, you don't want to go national because it's going to cost you a lot of money. They told me stuff like, if you get distribution and all, because, I wanted to be in the airport, I wanted to be in all the newsstands. And they told me this is a distributor, right? But here's what happens. If your magazine get to the airport and it does not sell, they're going to cut the top of the magazine off. They're going to send you the top of the magazine to show you that it didn't sell, and you're not going to make any money. And I was like, well, that doesn't make sense, because they don't pay until the magazine sell. So you got to print out. So they gave me like all the insight that I needed to make an informed decision about starting my magazine. Fast forward to today, I don't have to worry about any of that because technology has changed the game. So the other thing I want to say is fall in love with technology. I know a lot of people don't like it. They're scared of it. They just want to get on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook. Yeah. But if you're a business owner, you need to learn something that's going to help you be more productive and help you leverage all of this technology to help you grow your business. I do a magazine now. It's called Noisemakers, right? We put the magazine together. Yeah. We put it on the magazine platform. You can buy a print on demand if you want it. You can buy it in bulk if you like. I don't have to ship it to anybody. All we have to do is put it together and put it on these platforms. And that's amazing. So, thinking about how to leverage all this stuff. Austin, I want to talk about one last thing before we close it out. Financing is big for any business. I don't care where you started, unless you have, like somebody that's backing you up right out the gate. Alternative finances is what I really want to talk about, because they say banks don't lend money till you don't need it. I think that's true. What about credit unions, and what other alternative financing options are there out there for startups that are just not just startups, but solopreneurs that are just starting up?
Right. You have lending companies that are SBA preferred lenders, right? These are lending institutions that are signed up with the SBA. The SBA identify them as credible lending sources, and so they're out there. You have Lift Fund is one. Lift Fund is one. Commercial Capital Solutions is another. Rosemont Financial is another. Some people turn to Lending Tree, the online service. ACE, Access to Capital for Entrepreneurs, is another, right? These are all agencies that are SBA preferred lenders that work with entrepreneurs as far as alternative lending, right? I've tapped into each one of them. That's why I'm able to remember them. I've had several of them on with me as facilitators at my annual conference. This year, I was privileged to have Mr. Brian Pert from Capital Solutions, Capital Commercial Solutions, Capital Solutions, I think. Yeah, that's the name of the company. He came to me as a recommendation from the Gwinnett Chamber, because with the two businesses I'm working with now, they're going to need alternative lending, right? Alternative financing, because they're not going to go to the bank. The bank, they're too new for the bank to say, we trust you with debt financing at this point. The thing about alternative financing is that you're still going to have to show or project how you're going to grow, consecutive quarters, consecutive months throughout the year, right? If you're an existing business, you have to show, a certain level of revenue, for 3 consecutive months, right? There's a certain collateral that they will ask for. The interest rates may be a little higher than a traditional bank because of the alternative lending, the alternative funding, but they're not they're not astronomical to the point where you're not going to take the funding that they're about to give you. It's just that they understand, these agencies understand. The term I was looking for is predatory lenders. They're not predatory lenders. Just want to make sure I clarify that. These are reputable, vetted companies that work with the SBA, and they're available to work with you. So what you're going to have to do is determine, just like you're doing with the bank. This is where the business plan comes in. 3 years of financials, right, for your profit and loss, balance sheet, and cash flow statement. You're going, if you're a new business, you're going to have to show that you're able to generate the revenue, right, that's going to make them confident in lending money to you, right? You're going to have to show cash flow through the business for 3 years, right, to make them feel comfortable in lending you the money. And then the terms will be agreed to as far as the cost of capital, the cost to secure the loan in terms of the interest, right? Alternative lending is viable because you may not have the angel investors at your disposal, right? You may just need a small loan, maybe like 20, 30, 40,000, right? You may not have anybody in your immediate reach who can satisfy that angel investor need, but you may have to go to an alternative lender. But alternative lending is safe, it's secured. They work with you. They understand that, hey, you can't go to a bank and get this financing, but they're readily and available to work with you, as you need the financing to secure either your startup or to secure your expansion. I'm working on one right now with and Audrey, you used to see me sporting my African wear on Facebook. I model a lot of my African wear for an African store, a retail outlet that I get all my African wear from. Well, she's at a point now where she wants to expand, and just reached out to me for some alternative financing. So you can be an existing business, or you can be a pre-launch. Be in a pre-launch phase of the life cycle, and reach out to alternative lenders.
Now, one of the things back when the Obama administration, President Obama had the Jobs Act, which I was excited about that because, there were, and I'm still kind of excited. I've never used it, but I feel like this is the year I probably will look into it. So the Job Act allowed people to raise funding and give away equity. And that was new. Like, it was called Regulation C, which stands for Regulation Crowdfunding. And that was new. And people to this day, Austin, a lot of people still don't know about Reg C and how to go about raising funding where you give away equity. So that's a viable way to do it. Here's the thing though, you have to understand that you're going to give away equity in your company. And I think for me, the reason I had not taken advantage of that alternative financing funding was because I was like, I don't know if I want to deal with all of the shareholders that's going to put money into my company. So right. You have to deal with those people, because if they're not savvy investors, they're looking for like this huge return for that $100 they just gave you. And so if you don't give them, a 10 times or 10x that return in 30 days, they're looking at you crazy. So that kind of deterred me. But have you had the opportunity to work with anyone who did equity crowdfunding on any of the platforms?
I heard of it, but no, never had that opportunity. And it sounds like similar to venture capitalists. VCs will ask for a sizable percentage of your revenues of your business, and probably ask for a sizable chunk of ownership and decision making in your business. And it's kind of hard for you to relinquish that to a venture capitalist. But at some point, yes, you do need that. The one thing I'm working on now is socially and economically disadvantaged business opportunities for minority and disadvantaged businesses, right? Black-owned, Hispanic-owned, women-owned, veteran-owned, LGBTQ businesses, these businesses that have been classified as disadvantaged businesses, working on ways in which I can be more of an advocate for these businesses and identifying funding and financing from the government for lending to these businesses as well as in the city, because we have businesses that we had two small Black-owned businesses that shut down, one permanently and one temporarily, right? I didn't really know the first business that's closed permanently. I was in there quite frequently, and made friends with the owner, but he never really. And I told him what I do and who I am, but he never reached out to me to say, "Hey, man, do you know of anybody? Do you know how I can get?" Never reached out. And then I found out that they closed down. The other restaurant actually catered my networking event. They catered for my networking event this past December. So I've been working with them to identify alternative financing. There are certain requirements that they weren't able to meet at the time because they were still pretty much new. But now, they have to close temporarily because there were some fees that they had to pay, some expenses they had to take care of. And it was just overwhelming them financially because they just didn't have the working capital and the cash to take care of it. So they're closed temporarily. And then they're going to be reopened. That's the plan by the end of this month. So I will be, just trying to look out for these businesses and trying to determine now through a socially and economically disadvantaged business program, And this is from the Minority Business Development Agency, how we can better, be advocates for these businesses and put them in contact with funding sources in order to make sure they have the liquidity that's needed in order to keep their doors open. So the advocacy for me is important because my passion is entrepreneurship. My passion is small business development. I do an annual conference, which has been online since COVID. Hoping to move back to a fully in-person conference this year, but it might be 2024 before I do that, because I want to try a hybrid. Because one thing I realize is that folks now have become comfortable in sitting on their laptops. They're not, and it's not because of the pandemic or being infected by COVID. They just got comfortable. I can wake up. I'm working from home. Why do I need to go to a physical place for a conference? So that's something I have to gauge. How long it will be before I'm brave enough to take the risk of doing a full in-person conference. But the advocacy is what I love. The advocacy is something that that I've taken on. Not just consulting, not just helping to write business plans and marketing plans and helping folks grow and scale successfully, but also as an advocacy, looking out for small businesses by becoming members and becoming a member of several organizations to where I can, increase my effectiveness as an advocate for small businesses, especially our disadvantaged businesses.
Yeah, that's really important, because they need that. I mean, as far as you going to SBA or a school or whatever, as far as just being a small business, I mean, there's so many different qualifications for that, right? I mean, exactly. Because most people who really need the help, I'm saying small businesses don't need the help, but the majority of solopreneurs, they struggle a lot more, I think, because they don't have that extra funding, they don't have those extra people. So doing something for micro businesses and, just solopreneurs, I think, is something that is so needed, because every time you look at something for small businesses, you don't really qualify because you don't make that much money. You don't have that many employees. So I think being an advocate for that, and doing what you can with what you do, is very, very helpful to us.
Right. And real quick, there's always a push and there's always encouragement to start a business.
Right.
Start a business. But then it's like,
nobody wants to help you.
Nobody wants to help you. Yeah. So that's where my advocacy kicks in, because it's like, we've got to find help. And one other thing really quick, I believe in white papers. I believe in white papers, right? I believe in reading, right? Education is important. I know even up to yesterday, I was in a TV studio in Memorial Drive, and they're getting ready to create a joint venture. And I was talking to them about my videos, my YouTube channel. And they asked, well, how long are your videos? And I told them exactly the duration of my videos. Well, do people really sit through 20-minute videos, 15-minute videos? Do people really read papers, and they really read newsletters? I said, well, I do, because as a business owner, you got to stay up with a lot, right? You got to stay up with a lot. You have to be an educated entrepreneur. Yeah. You can't be an entrepreneur looking to grow your business and you don't know what's going on in your industry. You don't know what's going on in the U.S. You don't know what's going on in the economy. And you have to carve out time to read and educate. I understand, we have to, we look at attention span, and even I, I do newsletters. I haven't done one in 2 years, because my previous election and then COVID and everything, I just decided to put that on the back burner. But, I have to now determine how much I want to write and how much of a video in terms of time put out there. But look, I implore entrepreneurs to read, to study. You got YouTube videos that give you instructions on things. If the video is 30 minutes, carve out 30 minutes of your time, because you're gonna learn. You will learn something in that video, right, that you didn't know prior to watching that video. So be a student. Be a student.
That's so true. Learning student. Like, you got to keep learning. Like, you're never going to stop learning. As an entrepreneur. You can't stop, because when you stop learning, you die. Look at how look how quick things are changing.
Mm-hmm.
Just from last year to this, just from last month to this month.
Exactly.
Right? Things have changed so drastically. I was telling my husband, and he probably think I'm just nuts. I was like, let me tell you something, because I'm a tech person. So I said, let me tell you something. Everybody who does not embrace tech, they're gonna become a slave to the robot. He looked at me. I'm like, listen to what I'm telling you. They're not paying attention to stuff that's going on around them. You got to pay attention to that stuff. When they start talking about metaverse and robots and AI, machine learning, they're not playing.
Exactly.
They're not playing. Robots are smarter. There's a thing out right now called Chat GPT. It will write I wrote a script laying in bed Sunday morning, a movie script. Took the robot 1 minute. I was so amazed. I sent it to my daughter. She probably thinking, I was like, look at this script, this robot. So I told the robot what I wanted, right? The thing wrote the script out in 1 minute. I'm talking about a good script to the point where I think I want to make that movie. That's how good the script was. It was crazy. So you have to stay up. You have to always be learning.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. That's Latoya said, artificial intelligence, it is real to death. And people cannot sleep on it. Entrepreneurs cannot sleep on it. I know it sounds like a lot of woo-woo and all these terms that's floating around, but just know that it's not going anywhere. And the artificial intelligence that I'm talking about right now, it was created by a company that was started by Elon Musk. So that should tell you something right out the gate. I don't know how involved he is with that company right now, but just think about how he thinks about everything. So as an entrepreneur, you have to always be learning.
Always be learning.
You have to come up with a plan to be productive and constructive, but you also have to make sure that you're not all over the place. And I get it. You want to be on all these platforms, but if you can't be that person, I hired somebody the other day to make cold calls for me. I'm waiting to get my information back. I can't make them. I don't have time.
I'm doing that now.
I need you to make 100 calls. I gave him a list. The list had 36 pages. I need you to call everybody on this list. Right? The guy was like, okay, because I can't do it. So, you have to find a way to actually, create some structure in your business, along with your business plan, some structure. You have to make sure that you embrace white papers and technology. You can't be afraid of that stuff. You have to do it. You have to always be learning.
And also find a way to pivot. When things change, your business has to be able to pivot, and you have to be able to hold on to one thing that you can shift over, to make it digital, to make it this or that, because that's just really, really important.
A lot of businesses had to pivot during COVID. You had manufacturing companies that shifted drastically into now making PPEs.
They had you had to do that.
Yeah, they had the equipment, but the products they were manufacturing, there was no demand for them at that moment. So they had to shift into, we got all this equipment. What are we gonna do with it? Well, let's make PPEs. Let's manufacture PPEs. Because right now it's in demand. Right.
So they had liquor companies or brewing companies making, like sanitizers and things like that. I mean, you have to, and you can't just think, oh, well, that's not going to happen again. We don't know what's going to happen. So your business has to be ready. You have to have at least a digital product. You know what I'm saying? A tangible product. I mean, all of these things, a podcast, like all of these things are going to be vital. Because it's just ways to market and ways to to showcase how you can do it on different
exactly
and brand
exactly
Well, we are out of time. This has been amazing. Which I knew it would be. Austin Thompson, how can people reach out to you, my friend?
Well, before I give my contact information, I just want to say thank you, Audrey and Georgette, right? And Georgette for today. But I specifically want to thank Audrey. Audrey was phenomenal as a facilitator at my recent conference, the Entrepreneurship and Small Business Summit. She provided great information on, branding and making your marketing loud. And so this way you can be effective in the marketplace. I just want to thank Audrey again. And she did a phenomenal job as a facilitator providing that information. But for me, you can reach me on Facebook, through Austin Thompson or Thompson Management Consulting, TM Consulting LLC. Those are my handles. I don't spend that much time on Instagram, but TM Consulting LLC, that's good. I'm also at www.tmconsultingllc.com. On LinkedIn, Austin Thompson, and or 404-587-3949. Those are great ways to reach me.
Thank you, Latoya, for just hanging in there with us and checking us out today. You be blessed as well.
Yes, thank you, Latoya.
Listen, guys, that's all we got. We'll be back again with another community roundtable, and we'll be back with more business on Fridays. Like, I was trying to take a rest on Fridays.
She never takes a rest, so don't worry about it.
Me decided I want to do something on Fridays. I'm supposed to be off on Fridays, so I'm going to take this episode. It's going to go to the podcast platform because you guys didn't get it on the podcast platform because it's all video. But anyway, thank you, Georgette, for co-hosting with me. Thank you, Austin, for being our guest. We'll be back in probably next week. I'm not gonna say for sure because I haven't figured it out yet. So just stick around. Make sure that you don't go anywhere. Subscribe to the channel. Go to the website. Stay abreast of what's going on. Download the app from the app. So all the places you can get me. So you don't miss anything. All right. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody. We'll be back again. Until next time, my friends. Make it a great day. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.